Good morning and happy, lovely Mondays to each and every one of you. I am glad you're here, and I'm glad to be here too in Guild Wars 2. Good morning, Jared. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. We are here in God only knows. Um, Looks like Merkvale or thereabouts, near the volcano here at the center of the map. And well, we've got some stuff to do this morning for sure. Will's Petting Zoo and Garden. My friend, welcome in. Good to see you. So yeah, if you read the blurb, um, old Elderkin's been through it the last few days, and I'd like to touch on a little bit of that as we progress. But more than anything, I'd like to take the long way home after receiving that letter from Air. Go back to where it all started and start Living Worlds Part 1. But I also want to talk about my overall thoughts and impressions of Guild Wars 2, the original base game, as I do it. So rather than just using the simplest and easiest route, I'm going to attempt to utilize what's left of the gray matter between my ears and navigate this ridiculous area that I have not cleared out and talk about it. So, it is lovely to see you all. Blackthorn, welcome in. Myth Rain, welcome in. Yeah, the map is lovely. And there's whole parts of it here, of course, that are not filled in because they weren't part of my journey, per se, to 80. And I did as much map completion and stuff as felt, necessary, plus a bunch more. So I covered a whole bunch of areas. Sometimes I just felt like doing a bunch of map completion. And it was a lot of fun. And I don't have a lot of complaints about that at all. And the fact that there is still plenty more for me to do, I see as a net positive, not as a negative. So. But yeah, let me slightly adjust my windows here. There we go. So I can actually see people chatting when they chat over on the YouTube side. But it is good to see all of you this morning. I'm going to try to make it over here, and as we go, we'll knock out a little bit more of the map completion and, run these dudes around in circles, because why not?
Kill them!
Oh, I forgot I was still in the bow from last night. Yeah, man, that whole Zaitan fight required a little extra bow work than I've normally been doing in my gameplay lately. I've been doing a lot more of the axe and the torch, It's a lovely thing to do. Show me.
Pact forces are gathering to the northeast at Oxbow Isle in preparation for battle with the Inquest and their infernal machinations.
That's good, because we need to go up through
the
there.
Crate and the minions of Zaitan have been disrupting the supply routes. They must be dealt with before any assault can take place.
Crate, minions,
if you are willing
Zaitan,
to help,
yes.
seek out Magister Kimberly
Still causing
on the
problems even after the fall of the beast himself. I understand. I really do. What was I going to say?
I can't work under these conditions
The crazy thing about Tyria, I was just sitting by this gate back here, which was like on the map over here-ish, right? And there's this, obviously this area here with this Gloommerk outpost. And I noticed as I was, walking the dogs and coming back in and looking and then, doing some dishes and, that kind of shit shower, shave, right? And every once in a while I'd peek over and there would be like caravans moving through here, which is, not a huge deal by any stretch. And only one of them was part of a little like event that I noticed anyway, but I didn't touch the keyboard and mouse. I was just kind of peeking at it. But the world moves around and does stuff when I'm not looking at it, which is an awesome trait for an open world to have, right? Plenty of environmental storytelling and lots of other players that I occasionally spot out doing their thing. Is that guy riding a stuffed animal? That is the best thing I've ever seen, Snowguard. Good for you. I love it. So, the world definitely feels like an extension of the story that I'm kind of casting out of all of the little pieces as I play through it, because my inner 14-year-old is in full effect, right? I want to shout when I see something cool. I want to be startled when something legitimately startles me. I want to enjoy the story as it comes. It's full of tropes, which I don't think is a bad thing necessarily. I think that's used as a criticism sometimes, and it's often kind of a double, right? I mean, there's criticism to it, but there's also recognition that as humans, we tend to tell ourselves stories in a way that resonates with other stories that have come and gone before. So tropes aren't necessarily bad. Spiders, on the other hand, when you're totally lost and just wandering around a map, are sometimes bad. One thing I've noticed about Guild Wars 2 is that rarely am I boxed in and forced to go back. If I wander into something like that, I can just keep on trucking. It's fine. There's always a way through, or almost always a way through. A lot of times it's a lot more vertical than I expected it to be, and I think that's a pleasant surprise, right? But yeah, it's the painterly style obviously appeals to me. I don't know why. It's very designed, and oddly enough, it allows me to kind of immerse myself into the story in a way that feels pretty good, especially compared to some photorealistic games, which are really proud of the fact that they're photorealistic games, and sometimes just take it a step too far and kind of turn me off. So the painterly thing doesn't bother me. I understand it's not for everyone, obviously. The fact that my mount feels like an extension of my own movement. It's Skrit. So this is an ancient race, native to Tyria, if I'm not mistaken. And by themselves, idiots, right? But in groups, they get smarter and smarter because of kind of a community intelligence. And in large groups, they're even led by a, highly intelligent and cunning leader of some kind. I think it's a queen with the Skrit. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm brand new to all of this. So. But they're a lot of fun. They're cool little junk collectors. They're tiny little mouse guys. Most of the time, they're super friendly and they're adorable. And by themselves, they're absolute fools. I mean, they're morons. Aloo! You tried the brewmaster's brew. It good brew, yes. Finest, bestest beer to ever be drink. Okay. Let's see. Skrit making beer? Did I miss something? It's not like your beer, Norn. Skrit made beer from Skrit stuff. Much better. Much deliciouser. Well, where do I find your brewmaster? You see them glowing, clanky things up hilltop right there? Thanks, I'll check it out. So by themselves, they're kind of sub-morons, which is lovely. But when they get into a tribe, they start differentiating and creating brewmasters and, tinkerers, and pretty soon they've got inventors and captains and brave noble Skrit that guard the entrance to their caves. And, I don't know. It's corny and it's cute and it's very bright. And it's a lot more Disney than the stuff that I normally tend to gravitate toward. And I like that. It's kind of fun, especially in the morning, It's got that kind of vibe to it, right? But I do love the game parts of this game, the loop. The fact that combat is this fun little dance, and I've got various abilities that I can use, and I can't often make it through a full rotation, whatever passes for a rotation for me. But there are fights throughout the world that are tougher than, the expected. And that's a lot of fun as well, because you run into that and you're like, oh shit, now I gotta fight. Now I gotta swap weapons and get some distance, or I gotta, do whatever I need to do in order to overcome this challenge, because it's going to require more than just 2 or 3 buttons, which is Fascinating.
We really have our hands
It's a
full
fun way to
around
do
here.
the world.
Between fighting the Risen, the Destroyers, and the Inquest, it's surprising we manage anything else. A local Asura lab has been working on some new golems to help out, but they
Okay.
keep running out of power supplies. Some new weapons are being
happens.
tested against the Risen too, but it's slow going with only 2 people working on them. If you're up to helping out, it'd be welcome.
Nice. Okay, so I'm up here on the map, right? And I'm trying to make my way generally into this uncharted area here. This waypoint here is my North Star right now. Because I want to get over here and take what looks like might be a road up through here and around this dungeon that I have not discovered yet. That's coming when I get back from my trip. And into this vast area here that is just completely unmarked. Because I want to ultimately get up to here, which is the Black Citadel, the Canton deck, the Char's home base, and the starting area for all the Chars in the game. Because that's where Living World Season 1 kicks off. That's where Ear's letter is sending. But in the meantime, I'm down here, and when that guide was telling me about what was going on, I observed that below me, I've already passed by an event that is very close to actually maxing out. And I think that's interesting because in a lot of games, I would be told, go from here to here to this event, do this event, get your reward, head, it would give me point-by-point directions. But, generally head in the direction you're going and do the next thing and the next thing and so on and so forth. And in this game, I can ride right through or past or contribute slightly and then move on to an event. And as near as I can tell, I don't lose any progress if I come back to it. But the main thing is, it's not forced at all. So when I run into something and I'm like, oh, check it out, there's a hero point here. And I start fighting it, next thing I know, somebody else rides in, jumps off their mount, gets involved. It's like, oh, okay, there are other people running around doing their own thing here. And that's cool. Look at that, Will. Callie Courageous has a guild tag that shortens to Rose. How awesome is that? But I don't have to do that event. I can just ride through doing my own thing, set my own objective. Maybe I'm working on, I don't know, some type of other objective. Maybe I'm really, if I was in a true hurry to get over here, I would just take fast travel, for sure. But maybe I'm, working on some type of thing in my log or my achievement log, I think it is called. And I've got things to do, and I'm not really paying attention to the events. To other people playing in those events, I'm just a shadow that rides through, man, which is also fine. Help when you can. Don't help when you can. It feels good, and I like that. It's fun. And the map completion part, not for everybody, I know. But for me, sometimes I just want to move. I want to turn the brain off, stop thinking or overthinking or thinking about what I'm going to do on the next Fallout stream or thinking about getting ready for XYZ appointment or, whatever it is that's going on in real life. And so I just get on and I let my mind kind of go blank, almost like a form of a dirtbag meditation, right? And I just go through and I do stuff. And I'm developing the muscle memory enough to where it's starting to feel really natural in a kind of holistic way to just move through the world and follow the little indicator that says next POI is over this way. Next heart event that you haven't cleared yet is over this way. Next, Vista is over this way. You know me, and I love those Vistas, right? So that's cool, and I enjoy that. And it satisfies and tickles that kind of inner 12-year-old's desire to, even in video games, skateboard and climb perfectly good trees and try not to wipe out at the jetty, but in more of a virtual space kind of sense, which is cool. And there we are. We're back over at this event now, the one we have partial completion of. And we can see since we're here, we've got to cleanse the fertile soil to create plant turrets, test Pick Store's weapons on Risen, activate Risen activity monitors, and call Risen forces. Now, you guys know, and I know, that Zaitan's dead. Killed him yesterday. He's gone. why are there still Risen forces in the open world of Tyria in the base game? And I think the answer to that is simple, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's a beautiful thing, really, and it's evergreen content for anybody playing in the open world of the base game at any time. Doesn't matter what year it is or whatever. And that's neat. And I can suspend my disbelief because it's like this. Word hasn't gotten back to these guys yet that the Risen have been defeated and Zaitan is dead. And meanwhile, they're stragglers. You know, Zaitan's minions are still kind of bucking about, causing trouble. And it's up to me to, you know, help take care of that problem as I move through areas I haven't moved through before. Rinfail, lurk alert, post-shower, pre-second round coffee, pre-snoop, pre-stream, work while I work. I love it, man. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much. I don't see any of these turrets. Maybe this is interact with. Nothing, right? Oh, I've got a experimental weapon. One thing that I'm struggling to get used to is the stuff that you pick up that converts your action bar into a new weapon or a new series of actions or attacks. I'm not really a fan of that, and I usually switch back right away unless I absolutely have to do it to progress something. I can kind of put up with it underwater. I get it. You got your harpoon gun or your spear, whatever you got. That makes good sense to me. It's not really that much of a problem. But out here, it's like, pick up this series of grenades that you can only throw once. And some are, you know, insta-targeted. And other ones are, you get a circle on the ground for an AoE, and you have to click it twice to launch it off. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. The minigame thing is strong with Guild Wars 2, for sure. It's not my favorite thing so far, but that could change. I mean, there's lots of content ahead, right? But map completion doesn't bother me all that much. Sometimes like this, it's not really obvious what I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't really see anything that's kind of marked out as fertile soil. I've got a suspicious rabbit over here, but that doesn't appear to be dictated by that heart's requirements for completion. It's just now it's an unsuspicious rabbit. I've checked it out, and it passes muster. So we're going to move on through here because this doesn't engage the part about this game that I love the most. But we'll talk a little bit about the narrative and the story and the myth-making going on here, because I think it gets kind of an interesting rap in that it's considered to be lesser than perhaps the later expansions in terms of writing, and I'm sure that there are definitely aspects of it that are totally true. Right? That's understandable, and there's probably a lot of great criticism with that regard that make a lot of sense. Oops. I still got out of here. These elementals are slackers as far as what they let me get
Keep them
away.
off me while I get the ether motive power relay back online.
Yeah, that was definitely you're going to lose your mount over that. You get yourself in all kinds of trouble in Guild Wars 2. But the story so far, as tropey as it was, and as often wholesome or almost Disney-like as it was enough to keep me going. It was enough to hang the bones of a stream off of. It was enough to interact with and exclaim at and ponder and kind of follow through and do the things that were being asked of me. It wasn't groundbreaking. I didn't go, oh my God, this is, you know, existential science fiction literature or fantasy literature. This doesn't make me think about my place in the universe, but it makes me think about Elderkin's place in the universe. And when I'm the 12-year-old Bubbles, I want to think about what Elderkin's thinking about. I don't want to think about what Derek's thinking about, Chance is thinking about, Bubbles is thinking about. Fuck all that. I want to be the 12-year-old me, move through the world and do stuff and make some kind of difference, even if it's a Main Street USA kind of difference, So I'm not really fussed about the narrative direction of the story so far. I think it's fine. And it seems to be ramping up a bit. There's been some missteps. The push towards war in that final kind of series of chapters was weird. It felt disjointed and off-kilter compared to
Such
the
might.
first 2/3 of the OG base game. If that makes any sense. It felt like it was rushed, and I suspect it probably was. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that they were getting ready to release probably, and they were finishing things up, and some things got rushed, or some things didn't get as many passes as it might have gotten when it was one of the first things that were created for the game when development first started. So that part, it was jarring in spots, and I kept thinking, this is it, this is it, this is it, right? And it never was it until it was. But it wasn't a deal breaker. And I kept thinking, you know, what everybody always tells me, people that know this game better than I do anyway, they always tell me, man, it gets a lot better as it goes on. Like, I've even been told skip Living Worlds Season 1. And I'm sure that's great advice for certain kinds of players. You know, people with limited time or whatever. But I could keep streaming this in the mornings for the next 3 or 6 months. I don't really have to rush through it. And if it's jank, it's jank. If it's silly, it's silly. If it definitely isn't as good as some of the later seasons, fine. We'll talk about that as we go. But I'm sure we'll be able to get something out of it. This is a fractal.
Such
No,
might.
fractals are dungeons in this game. Almost like Mythic Plus. They kind of have a tier list to them. You start out at 1 and you work your way up. And I haven't done one. I don't know a lot about it. I've seen them mentioned in some other streams and videos. But you know what? If we can pitch in and help as we move through, then fine. That's what we'll do. I'm kind of generally aiming for what feels like out, and since I'm in the middle of a volcano's caldera, I feel like going up is probably a pretty good way to get through. But as far as the narrative and myth-making go, there were some genuinely funny parts. There were a handful of laugh-out-loud parts, but there were some genuinely, okay, chuckle-worthy, you got me, that was good, parts for sure. And they were sprinkled in throughout the entire story. I got a kick out, even yesterday when I was doing the whole Zaitan fight, as jank as that shit was, and it was jank. I got a kick out of Destiny's Edge having like an impromptu therapy session on board the airship while I was literally doing all the heavy lifting. I was doing all the freaking work, man. And it was like so NPC coded. I am running around in circles when I come. Let's jump up here. Make a little extra progress and stop running around in circles on the wrong side of the volcano. And we are definitely pointed more that way. We need to get more to the east, generally speaking. We got trolls. Sure. What are you? Are you tough? Not really. Level 60. Yeah. I could auto attack you to death. That's fine. But seeing them have their argument while I was trying to basically save the day with all of the turrets. Nobody's manning any of them. Guys are coming up behind me and attacking me while I'm firing the turrets, trying to kill the 4 dragons, leading up to Zaitan. It was funny. It was not funny, haha, but funny in a way that was enough for me to hang my patience on and struggle through the parts of it that were just jank and, to be honest, shit, you know. That old design for that fight was Terabad. It didn't explain itself very well. It didn't feel good to play. There were whole parts of it that would have been better as a little movie that I got to watch. But I can't be mad at it. The spectacle of it was immense. The pathos between myself and Traherne and the rest of the pack was real and palpable. And it was fun. The little therapy session brought me back down to earth just enough to keep me from spiraling into, you know, because I could easily do that. And I don't want to do that. Like, my inner 12-year-old's like, man, put that fucking guy away. Nobody wants that fucking guy. Put him away. So I put them away, and I listened to the therapy session, and I cracked up a little bit. But there was definitely a spectacle versus agency mismatch there, for sure. And that hopefully is something that they did mention it by name in their developer direct, or whatever they call it, when they're going to go back over the next year and a half or so and kind of fix things and tighten things up and make sure all the bolts are locked down and, you know, nothing's loose and rattling off. That's something they could definitely touch on, for sure. I could definitely see more of Destiny's Edge coming out and maintaining that argument, that fight, that coming together, that therapy session, while they were manning turrets, while they were, you know, putting out fires behind us and making sure that the things that were attacking us while we were trying to shoot down the dragons with the turrets were getting handled, or we were getting heals or revives or whatever. They don't even have to give it a whole lot of gameplay using the tools they've got. They can just have them out there doing stuff instead of Zoja running back and forth every once in a while like she was putting out the most major fire, right? That would be cool. And if they do more than that, even better. I don't want to spend so much time on the base game that they ignore all the neat new things that they want to explore later on after Guild Wars 3 comes out, and if and when they come back to doing more content for this. I think that would be unfortunate, but to have a small team of kick-ass firefighters with big imaginations and a little guts go through some of that stuff and kind of tweak it a bit, I think it would be very, very cool. But they need, you know, bosses and decision makers, of course, who will give them that freedom and make those things a priority. So, so far so good. You know, 1 or 2 fights of jank isn't that big of a price to pay for the fun that I had the last, I don't know, 100 hours or so over the last 2 weeks. And as far as everything else that goes with the game, talking about my 4-pillar model, right? Creating Elderkin Ravensworn as a living myth, a kind of a forward-thinking, on-the-fly, spontaneous RP of a character that exists in this world and is the vehicle for my 12-year-old consciousness to enjoy. I think it does a great job of giving me those hooks. It doesn't give me so many or push so hard that... Oh, hi. Yeah, my bad. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to intrude upon your personal space. Yes, everything's going to be fine. Yeah, I think it does plenty to feed that. And the jumping puzzles, I really like the jumping puzzles. I'm looking forward to trying World versus World. Where am I located? I appear to be going more towards an area I've already explored. Instead of down here, we're gonna roll with it. This seems to be the natural course today. The nice thing about this game for me is it's not a fucking movie or TV show. For me, I'm not just sitting back watching that epic Zaitan fight for 2.5, 4 hours, a series, whatever. I'm actually playing through that story and experiencing it in my own way. The movement in the game is an extension of my personality, which is to be a little restless, which is fun. The mounts are an extension of my character, so there's not this weird artificial difference like, oh, I jumped on a... I'm just going to use this as an example. I don't mean any hate by this. I had plenty of fun with mine, but like a gnomish helicopter or something that kind of bobs and floats and very slowly moves. This feels hot, you know, in that kind of primal way. It sparks me. So I think the main thing with all of that is that I've got the bones to hang something on, and my little 12-year-old brain is activated with the movement and the fighting and the story, and it makes me playful and not cynical, which is my natural inclination as a 50-something-year-old man. And honestly, I don't need to be in contact with the cynical 50-something-year-old man when I'm playing and streaming video games and telling narrative stories and bullshit with the chat, doing fun stuff. I need playful, heroic, but also fun and, you know, kind of kinesthetic engagement with something that's more positive and less than negative. So I don't expect, when I look at something like Guild Wars, to give me that Cyberpunk 2077 gritty experience, which I love. I do expect it to give me playful heroism and more cornball earnestness and less cynicism. And so far, job well done, you know? I don't want to, on this channel, anybody who knows me knows this isn't true about me, but I don't want to argue about old dead legends, deconstruct them, try to figure out what made them tick, and come up with hot takes for how that informs my philosophy from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night. I want to talk about future legends and future myth making, because I think people need better myths. So that's the role of the storyteller, right? I'm lame at it, and I'm not by any means a master of that form, but it's my contribution, and I like to give it. Rimfield says, yeah, that fight was lol. It was lol. It was, the spectacle of it was awesome. I did not feel terribly engaged with it for the most part, and I think that's unfortunate, but, you know, it's, what, 15 years old at this point? It is what it is. Can I enjoy it along with all the things about the game that I really love so far? And let it be my friend. Why are we laying down?
Faster!
You're going to have to get up, sir. It's a beautiful day. There's no lying down in Guild Wars. Bella, would you take care of my light work for me, please? Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Anyway, I'm sorry if I ignored you guys quite a bit, but I was kind of giving my broad overview, my first attempt at doing the thing my friend Tim does, which is kind of talk about their overall impressions of a thing, not necessarily a review by any
That
means.
was a waste.
I would say 95% positive, and I go in with a baseline of if I enjoy it enough to do it, it's going to be 80-20, 80 positive, 20 negative. And I feel like this was 95% positive, so, you know, I'm good. Salmon sounds good. Kill the lake monster, level 52. Speaking of weapons that are forced upon me through great evil, can I solo kill the lake monster? Hard to say. Its health bar appears to be going down. It is. Got this. Lovely.
We heal as one.